This week's episode is presented by Mediazilla and Creative Cabana. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast. My name is John Bunn, and today I'm joined by nobody. It's just me, a solo episode. I asked Nick if it was okay if I recorded this. I think it's a really important topic, and today we're going to be digging into how to win over wedding planners. Recently, I've really made good friends with a handful of wedding planners and have really dug into making real relationships with people that align with my values. And in particular, a wedding planner I worked with this year has become a good friend and referred me lots of events since April. And so as I record this in July, she has sent me some very high quality leads since working with her, and she didn't even know I existed this time last year. And so today we're going to dig into how to win over wedding planners, because wedding planners are bombarded with messages from people. They're bombarded with people wanting to work with them. And so everybody knows that if I can get in with wedding planners, then I'm going to be able to have lots of bookings. But first, I wanted to remind you of our friends over at Mediazilla. This is the delivery company that we use exclusively, Nick and myself, to deliver our wedding films to our couples. And Mediazilla is our place where we upload our films and are able to deliver them to our couples in a way that's not just a YouTube link or a Vimeo link. This is something that you can customize. It's got a player. And our favorite part about this is that it is backed up with a lifetime guarantee for the couple. So if you've uploaded your film and you decide to do something else, they can actually still get access to their film lifetime guarantee. So that's really great. And also there's some exclusive offers for the How to Film Weddings listeners. They have a 30-day free trial. They've extended that from 14 days to 30 days. And it unlocks 50 gigabytes of extra storage within the trial. So if you're on the fence about it, head over to howtofilmweddings.com/delivery. You can check out our approved delivery companies there. But I really wanted to shout out Mediazilla. We were able to meet them in person last year, and the team over there has been really open to listening to us wedding filmmakers, and I think that's just really important. And so if you're looking for a place to deliver your films, look no further. Mediazilla. And then before we get going into this episode, I want to say happy 4th of July. We're recording this the day after 4th of July here on the 5th, but just want to say happy 4th of July, happy Canada Day to some of you out there, our Canadian friends, and we just hope everyone's having a great summer. A lot of things are going on over in the How to Film Weddings world. Our mastermind group is about 5 months into the program. A lot of them are really killing it, adding, higher packages, booking more weddings, just growing as wedding filmmakers. We also launched our new YouTube channel. Outside of our podcast channel, we've got a tutorial channel now. About 1,500 of you are subscribed over there, but we've been putting out tutorials and gear reviews and things. So if that's your thing, be sure to check out the YouTube channel, the new How to Film Weddings YouTube channel over there. We wanted to split up the podcast from tutorials, so it'd just be easier for you to decide what kind of content you want to use. So lots of great things going on over there. And now let's hop into this week's episode presented by Mediazilla. So as I mentioned in the intro, today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to win over wedding planners. We want to be building a network of planners that refer us, and this is going to be a great way to keep our bookings full every year. Hopefully you're not getting too many repeat clients. You're not filming the same bride's wedding 3, 4, 5 times. If you are, that's, good for you, I guess. But the idea here is wedding planners, wedding photographers, other vendors. These are people that are going to be in business over the years. And if you can make friends and if you can show them that you're a really valuable asset to their team, you're going to get a lot of bookings, and you're going to get the right kind of bookings. And so I wanted to start out this week's episode really talking about what to look for in wedding planners that you want to work with, because I think a lot of us just think, I need to get in with all of the wedding planners. So if you're a wedding planner, I want to work with you because you equal money and you equal bookings. And I would challenge you to really think through the kinds of wedding planners you want to connect with. So the first point I want to say is to pay attention to their clientele and their style. Do you have the same kind of ideal clientele? When you look at their work, is it work that you're like, this is exactly the kind of work that I'm either doing or want to be doing? Is the style what you like? Is there just their overall vibe the kinds of weddings you want to do? If you're super not into ballroom and luxury or whatever, and you're trying to reach out to these planners, you could be, climbing up a ladder only to get to the top of it and realize the ladder's leaned up against the wrong wall. And so we want to be as effective as possible with our time, and we want to be thinking clearly on who it is that we want to be working with. So the first point, clientele and style. What are the clientele of the wedding planner that you're looking at? A great way to check this out is their Instagram page or their website, and see their style, see the words they use, see their headshots, just see them as the brand, and see if this is something that you would be interested in working with. A lot of us are just reaching out to wedding planners and thinking that they will work with us and we want to work with them just because they're a wedding planner. I do not recommend that. And that moves us into bullet point number 2 is, are they in the same stage of business as you? And what I mean by that is you don't want to be reaching out to a wedding planner or trying to connect with a wedding planner that is 20 years into business and already has all of the referrals that they need for wedding filmmakers, or all of the vendors that they want to work with. They're doing $1 million weddings, and here you are in your first year of business. That just doesn't line up. I'm not saying you can't get in with someone like that, but that doesn't make as much sense as looking in your world and looking and saying, okay, for example, if I'm a $5,000 wedding videographer based in Tulsa. That's a little more than the middle of the market. It's a little higher than the middle. So I might be looking for somebody that's a little bit more than the highest end wedding plan, or the middle end wedding planner. I might not be looking for a brand new wedding planner, which is never a bad thing to connect with new planners, but I might be looking for someone that is in that same kind of price range of a couple's going to be hiring me, they're going to want to be hiring them, and vice versa. The other thing is just the experience level. Are they in the same stage as you in experience? Do they have around the same amount of time doing weddings or a little bit more? And I always try to connect with people that are within reach of where I'm at. Maybe they're doing weddings that are a little bit higher end than what I usually am doing right now, but they're in the direction of where I want to go. And so this is helping me again to determine, what am I looking for in a wedding planner? So for me with John Bunn Films, I'm currently starting out in the $15,000 to $18,000 range, and I love destination weddings. I love timeless, classic style. I'm not trying to do anything like crazy and funky. I just want like romantic, beautiful wedding films, and I want to work with couples that love wedding video. They're nostalgic. They care about their wedding videographer. They want to know who I am. They might not want to be my best friend at this point, but they respect what I do. They don't just want to hire whoever their planner says. They want to have some kind of interaction with me. So I know that about myself. So that means that I'm not currently aiming for Lynn Easton with Easton Events, or Marcy Bloom, or all these big time wedding planners that do these high end luxury weddings. I'm not even within the realm of connecting with them right now. I'm not aiming. I don't want to climb that ladder. I think they do amazing, beautiful work, and I have lots of friends that do weddings for them. But I've determined this isn't the lane that I'm aiming at. Now, if Easton Events reached out to me and said they have a client interested in working with me, heck yeah, I would be interested. But knowing my price range and knowing the style and knowing the kind of interaction I want to have and how long I've been in business, it kind of gives me some clues on who I should be connecting with and reaching out to. So whenever you determine that, we don't just go after every single wedding planner. We can then potentially get the conversation started. How do we get this conversation started? You might be saying, yeah, I know who I want to work with, but how do I get this conversation started? First things first, I do not recommend just cold calling or sliding into the DMs of a wedding planner. It works for some people, and it can work for you if you're just ultimately like the best, most charming person. But I don't recommend just sliding into the DMs without point number 2 is, where is your connection point? Who do you know that they know? How can you find a connection point? If you think about when you're looking for recommendations for even like a babysitter, like if I'm looking for a babysitter with for my 2 little girls, if I reached out to my best friend in town and said, hey, who do you guys use for a babysitter? We're doing an overnight trip. Who do you recommend? If my best friend told me that Charity is the best is the best babysitter, hire her. We've hired our kids, her to hire or to work and watch our kids so many times. Reach out to Charity. When I've never even met Charity, I have a lot higher probability of booking her and trusting her because there was a connection point. And so I think about that within our wedding video businesses. A lot of the times we're just cold calling it. We're trying to just walk up to somebody at the bar and ask them if they'll marry us. It's just too much too soon. So where's your connection point? Who do you know that they know? What venues have you worked at that they have? Is there somebody that can give you a handshake moment? That's a big strategy on how to get the conversation started. It's much easier if you get an email with you, a friend of yours, and the new planner you want to work with, introducing you to that planner. And so thinking about who you know that knows that wedding planner, how you can be connected. And maybe there isn't a connection point yet, and I would encourage you not to rush the connection point. The next thing about getting the conversation started would be, is there a chance for you to get in the same room with these people? And I don't mean that in a creepy way, but like, are there any local networking events? Are there any galas? Are there any, big vendor events that you know they're going to be at, or weddings that you know that they're going to be at? Like, where and how can you get in the same room with somebody? In 2024, in a world where we are on Zoom calls a lot and digital things all the time, I am a big believer in that if we can get in the room with people and they can, in 4D instead of 2D, if we can get in the room with people, we can really connect with them on a deeper level. And so maybe it's spending that extra money for that ticket to that event, or being part of that workshop that they're offering, or offering to, film that workshop that they're putting on, or like, how can we get in the same room with them? And then the last thing on getting the conversation started is I'm always just looking at, who am I about to be working with? That's a great way to connect with potential planners. As my business has grown, and a lot of times brides reach out to me, they find me on YouTube or whatever. I had a bride last year reach out to me. She was a bridesmaid in a previous wedding from 2021. And she had been waiting to reach out to me since the wedding I filmed for her friend. She got engaged last July. I remember getting an inquiry from her when I was on a trip to Montana with my family, and it was just basically her gushing over the fact that she had been waiting for 2 years to reach out to me, and she knew she wanted to book, and was I available on any of these 6 days? Because if not, she was going to pick a different day because she wanted to book me that badly. That's the biggest flex I know as a wedding filmmaker, to get that kind of inquiry. But she hadn't even picked out a planner yet. And I tell you the story because this was July of last year. It's July 5th today as I record this. And she hadn't picked out a planner until like August or September. And so I remember that I booked this bride. And then a couple weeks later, she said, hey, we've picked our planner. Her name is Emily. And I said, hey, can you give me the Instagram handle for her? I would love to just connect with her. And they said, absolutely. So I followed her on Instagram, and I sent the wedding planner just a quick DM because I had a connection point. And I said, hey, I just heard that you booked Bailey's wedding. I'm so excited to work with you. My name's John. I'm based in Tulsa. Excited to work with you next year in April. That was it. I didn't try to get anything. I just wanted to let her know, here's this connection point. And this would be similar to like me walking up at a bar and seeing Emily sitting there and saying, hey, do you mind if I sit down next to you? Like, that's as far as it was. I'm not asking her to refer me to couples on the first date. I'm not asking her anything, but I did have an in with her because we're working a wedding together. Within a week, I think so, she followed me back, the planner, on Instagram and responded to my DM and just said, hey, so excited to work with you. And that was it. But she knew who I was now. She followed me back and the conversation has begun. I didn't talk to her for a couple of months, but again, I'm always putting more and more people into my funnel, the awareness at the top, a raving, excited client, loyal customer at the bottom is kind of my funnel, is my goal. So, okay, she's in there. She's in the funnel. She knows I exist. She follows me. I set her as a favorite on Instagram. So when she starts posting things, I can start liking or commenting and just interacting. And my goal isn't how can I manipulate her. My goal was she is booking the ideal clients that I want to work with because she literally is working a wedding with my ideal client. And I learned more about her business. She's been in business about the same time as me. She's working with clients that have anywhere from a $12,000 to $20,000 video budget. So that fits within what I'm looking for. And as I saw her posts and the kinds of weddings she was doing and the style, I fell more and more in love with her style and the vibe of what she put off. And that's really important for me. I didn't talk to her for several months up until about March of this year. The wedding we were doing together was at the end of April. She had sent a timeline. And so that gave me an open door to say, hey, I've got your timeline. I've got a couple of questions. Also, I think it would be great if you have the time. Would you like to hop on a quick Zoom call just so we can walk through this? I'd love to meet you. I don't like working with people that I haven't met face to face, of course. And she was like, yeah, absolutely. And so she and I had a 30-minute call with her. And it was like we were able to look at the timeline. I was able to ask questions and just build that rapport with her. And before I get going on the second half of this story, I wanted to just remind you all, if you're looking for a new LUT, I don't know if you knew or not, myself and Kaylin with Gamut put together a luxury LUT called Luxe by How to Film Weddings last year. It's a color preset for someone looking for a high-end filmic vibe. It's beautiful. Kaylin went above and beyond. So if you're looking for new color presets, head on over to howtofilmweddings.com/LUTs. That's howtofilmweddings.com/LUTS. So moving on with my story, we ended up getting on another call with the photographer, talked for another 30 minutes. And so now before the wedding even, I've had two 30-minute calls with the planner, and I would go above and beyond to make sure she knew I'm a team player. These are the kinds of things that I'm looking for on a wedding day. And is there anything she's specifically looking for? Does she need any reels? Does she love having details? Does she love having moments? Like what does she love? And I'm looking at ways that I can serve her. I wasn't looking at ways that I could serve John Bunn Films because people don't want to connect with you if you're just looking for stuff from them. We always lead with value. And we don't just lead with value so we can get stuff. We lead with value because we're good people and we want to work with people that are like-minded. And so that whole filter of the way I run my business, instead of coming across in that first message with Emily last July saying, hey, I'm working this wedding with you. Do you have any other weddings that I could work with you? Like, that's just a big ask very early. But instead, I worked my process. And, after the second phone call, it was still a couple weeks till the wedding. I got her phone number. I started texting back and forth a little bit with her for some reel ideas for Instagram, just made a good connection. Text her whenever I was hopping on the plane to let her know I'd be there. I invited her to lunch with Blake, my second shooter, and a couple other filmmakers. We sat down and had a lunch together. I bought her lunch and just made really good conversation and connection. Nothing about will you refer me, because planners don't want you to feel like you just want to be around them so you'll refer them. They're looking for people that they can trust. They're looking for people that will provide them value. Like if they're going to provide you value in bookings, you better try to provide them value with reels or with your attitude or showing up on time, whatever it is that's your brand ethos. That's going to be really important. And so we're in town, we're in Georgia. We took her to lunch, and it was a 3-day weekend, or 3 days of shooting. And every day I had a new reel for her and about 15 to 20 high-res images from my screen grabs from my reels. Like she had mentioned one time in a call, like I never get any photos or I never get anything to post during. And so I just made sure that I wasn't making the photographer upset. Like the first night was a boat. We went out on a boat, and there was no photographer. And so I was able to just send like 50 photos to the planner and say, here's this. And I also made a same day edit reel, invited her as the collaborator, and also made sure that the planner was able to pick out the thumbnail for the Instagram post. So I said, here's the 4 images, which one fits the best in your feed? And so we're doing Instagram collaborations, all these different things. I'm getting her all these images. And we just connected really well. During the wedding day, I worked really well with her to just serve and make sure that we took care of everything that she needed. We were there early. We stayed late. We were a good, fun time to hang around. We had just a great time. It was really fun working with her and her team. She had a snack table for us. Like, I mean, what else do I want? And she was perfect. She was great. And she became immediately like a good friend. During the wedding itself, I did like a quick interview with her, or the night before the wedding, in the tent, the reception tent, as it was getting set up, and just like, hey, tell me what's going on back here. And then like I put together some reels for her, just some behind the scenes stuff. So she has all this footage. And what that does is it adds just a lot of value in her eyes towards what I do. If John's going to be at the weddings that I have, I'm going to get all these reels. If John's going to be there, I'm going to get all these photos. I'm going to get behind the scenes clips. I'm going to get somebody that shows up and looks professional and knows how to handle my clientele. I'm going to get somebody that the footage looks better than other people. The final film looks better. All these things add up. And as it sits, I'm just about to be done editing the film. So she hasn't even seen the final film yet. She's just seen a few Instagram reels. And then after the wedding was over, on my way home on the airplane, I culled through all the footage and I edited together 4 or 5 more Instagram reels and just sent her text messages with those in them, just a shot of the bride, a shot of the stationery, different things like that. So she had 8 or 10 posts ready to go from the wedding the day after the wedding. And I can't tell you, it was a lot of hard work to stay up late and do same day edits and do all these different things. But the Monday after I got back, I sent her those extra reels. And she said, hey, are you available in April of 2025? I've got a client that I want to book you. And then the next day she sent, hey, are you available in October of this year? I know it's the last minute, and since the wedding, she has referred me, I think 7 or 8 events and a corporate event. I haven't booked all of them, but she and I have had multiple conversations after, and she said that she told her husband that I'm her favorite person besides him. And I think that's funny. And like we talked about being like vendor soulmates just like right out the gate. And if I hadn't known who my clientele was, who I wanted to work with, if I didn't know the kind of planner that I wanted to work with, I wouldn't have known that I could go all out for this specific planner. Am I telling you that you need to do this much for every single wedding? No, I'm not doing that. But what I'm saying is that if there is somebody you're working with coming up and there is an opportunity, it might be worth it for you to either bring an extra shooter, lose some sleep, something to really take care of them, because that turns into a relationship. And that's the best way I know to get really on someone's radar, is somehow get in the room with them. And a couple other things that I'm thinking about is I know that, we add value when it comes to video in providing video. I mean, that's a huge win for us as wedding filmmakers. So if you're, in your town, if I were just getting going or whatever in Tulsa here where I live, I would look through all the planners, see what connections I had, try to make connection, try to go to events, try to be in the same room, and then look for ways that I could add value. And this is a creative part of our business. And we can be creative and communicate ways that we can add value. It might mean you have to give up some time, but that might be better than you spending $2,000 on Facebook ads. But you're going to have to add value. And what I mean by that is, what if you made a good connection with a wedding planner, not straight out the gate, but like you made a connection at an event, and then you followed each other on Instagram, you DM'd back and forth a little bit, just like anytime you could. It's like, hey, that wedding was beautiful. Congratulations on that one, whatever. You haven't worked with them, but they know you exist. They're aware of your brand. What if you threw an idea out to them of like, hey, are there any events coming up that you have soon that you would love just like some extra video coverage of some details? Or are there any weddings that you have coming up that don't have video that you still want details of? Because I would love to like just come out and film those for you and give you some great value. Something like that. Like that's an option. Another option would maybe be hiring them to help you with a styled shoot, or hiring them to help you, put on some type of a workshop, or I don't know, but like, where can you add value? I think a lot of us are so short-sighted that we're just like, me need wedding planner referral, give me money. It's just so, it's so boring, and it's not creative at all. And there's no relationship being built. And I think a lot of us just look at one step ahead, maybe two steps ahead, instead of thinking, what's the best decision for my business 5 years from now? What's the best decision for me today to, like, 5 years from now, I'll be the most happy. And what happens is you don't always knock the ball out of the park. You don't always get the planner saying, yeah, I want you to do that thing. Or that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is you have to be looking for the opportunities. You have to be looking for the connection points. Who do you know that they know? How can you get coffee all together? How can you be at that networking event? How can you just be in the same room? And then that door is open. What can we do to add value so that they can see how we work, so that they realize, oh, I like that John Bunn character. He's pretty cool. I like that he was able to do those details for me at that wedding. Or, because we live in a very busy world. A lot of the times it's just being in the right place at the right time. And what I have found is people that go and do and take action are the ones that get referrals. They're the ones that get, they're top of mind. They're someone you think of immediately whenever that planner gets asked about video. Is she saying your name? Is he saying your name? And if not, what do you have to do to be able to be that person? I want to end today's episode with a story about my friend Zach Elkins. Zach Elkins Creative. If you don't follow him, he's based out of Waco. He's become a good friend over the last couple of years now. He was in our mastermind group last year. He kind of was quiet, kept to himself a little bit at our retreat, but we met. He was witty and funny, and like, he was cool. We didn't get as much time as I wanted together, but like, I remembered him and was like, oh, he's an awesome dude. I like this guy. He and I are, both Christian men with 2 kids and like live in the South. And it was like, oh, I like this guy. He likes my references to The Office, or, these different jokes and stuff like that. And I was coming into Houston in March to do a wedding and shooting it with Blake. And I just made a post like, hey, is anyone in the Houston area? I need some behind the scenes video for how to film weddings. And he reached out and he was like, hey, I'm in the area. I'm in Waco. Glad to come do it. I'll do it for free. And I was like, wait, what? And he had been in the room with me. We had connected. Where I had posted this was on a private Facebook group that he was a part of. And so I had trust built in with him. And when I asked if somebody was available to film BTS, he took the step. He took the action step to say, I'll do that, and I'll do it for free. I ended up paying him. I'm not just totally heartless or something, but just him being willing to do it for free. And then what happened is he came to Houston with us. He stayed at the same hotel, but he was great to be around. We got to know each other better. I got to see how he filmed behind the scenes, and Just like got to spend time, have conversations, have breakfast, have dinner, like all these different things with him, and was like, wow, he left like a really good impression on me, and just did a really good job. Like he got way underpaid to do the amount of work, but he saw the value of being in the room, and I saw the value of him being there, and it just worked. A couple weeks later, we're heading to this wedding in Georgia that I've been talking about with Emily, the planner here, and I just sent him a text and I was like, dude, what would it take to get you to Georgia? And he told me a number, and I said, let's do it. And I brought him along for another 3-day trip. And we got to know each other even better, became better friends, and like just connected on some things. Like he shared some stuff, and we shared, like, just, what you do when you're in the same room with people. And, we all stayed in the same big hotel and like had a great time and filmed a ton of behind the scenes and like solidified a friendship. And it's been awesome. We've been friends and texting since. The reason I say that is right after that trip in March, I got an inquiry for a wedding in Tulsa, and their budget was between $5,000 and $7,000. And I was trying to get them to book me, and they're like, really, we're topping out around $7,000, and I start at double that, so it just wasn't going to work. And then they said, do you know anybody that could fit this $5,000 to $7,000 range? And who was the very first person that came to my mind? Zach. Zach came to my mind. So I sent him a text and said, hey, are you available on October 4th or 10th or whatever it was? And he said, yeah, I'm available. And so I was able to tell that bride, here is Zach's information. Here is what here's a little bit about him. I made the connection point with them, and he ended up booking them for that price range for a wedding, which I think is one of his biggest weddings. And the reason I tell that story is because if he wouldn't have been willing to put in the work for that first meeting time in Houston with me, I wouldn't have felt comfortable referring him. And if he wouldn't have said yes to going to Georgia, I wouldn't have gotten to know him even better. And whenever that bride reached out to me, I was too expensive. He was able to be front of mind because of that. And that's what I think of when it comes to how we build our businesses. If you're doing things like that with other videographers, other photographers, other planners, you're going to be top of mind. And you're going to be thought of as somebody that's like, I want to reciprocate the value that they've given me. It's not because you are, like Zach wasn't just trying to get something out of me, but he just wanted, like he knew that he would learn a lot by watching me film a wedding. So that was helpful for him. And he knew that the connection is great. And now it's like, what else can I hire him to do? How else can we get in the same room and connect? And that's what happened with Emily, the planner, as well. I went from her not knowing I exist to now being her very first vendor she recommends, all in about a 7 or 8 month window of time because of all these things I've talked about today. So if you really want to wow a wedding planner, if you want to win over a wedding planner, I would implore you to really think of those things we talked about today. What is the clientele and style of the planner? Are they in the same stage of business as you? We're not just cold calling or sliding into DMs. We're looking for our connection points. Who do they know that we know? Where and how can we get in the same room with them? Are we working any weddings with them coming up? If we're thinking through these things, whenever those opportunities present themselves, we know how valuable they are, and we can strike when the iron is hot, and we can really make the most out of those things. If I wasn't paying attention, I would have just worked this wedding in Georgia, not made a good connection point with the planner, and moved on, and I wouldn't be getting referrals. But what happens is if you get 8 or 10 or 12 of these planners that you have a great relationship with, and they're each giving you 1 or 2, 3, 4 weddings a year even, your schedule gets completely full. And what's happening is they're growing in their business as you're growing in your business. So they're starting to charge more or up their game, and so are you. And that's where and how a lot of us have come up in the industry. So if you're only in your first year, maybe you're in your second year, maybe you're just getting started, don't despise the small beginnings. Reach out to people that are in the same bubble as you. See if you can work with them, work your way up, continue to raise prices and things like that. But if you do all of these things, you will win over wedding planners. So I hope this episode has been helpful for you, just to kind of get you thinking about how you can win over wedding planners. If this is helpful, please send me a DM on Instagram, just at How to Film Weddings. Let me know what you thought of this week's episode, this solo episode. And I want to again thank our sponsors, MediaZilla and Creative Cabana, for sponsoring this episode. If you don't already, check out howtofilmweddings.com/delivery, and you can check out MediaZilla and all of our other approved partners. Again, have a great week. Happy second week of July now. So I hope it's a great week. And until next time, we'll see you.